Let's grumble. In this video, we're going to go over the walk with me game. Now, a lot of people, when they are walking their dogs, they create a situation where they teach their dog to actually pull on the leash. Because what happens? Your dog pulls because it wants to get to a sniff or something that's interesting. And what do? We take that personally, and so we jerk the leash back. Dogs have something called an opposition reflex. The more you pull your dog's leash, the more you will train your puppy or your adult dog to pull against you on the leash. So it's one of the things you never want to do. So this game is going to help condition your puppy that staying around you is a very great thing to do, because I get a lot of rewards for doing so. Now, I want the dog to stay basically within an arm's reach, about 2.5 to 3 feet, depending on how long your arms are. Most people are unaware of the fact that dogs actually burn more energy on a walk by sniffing than they do from walking. We're trying to get them hurried along, and we want them to walk with their nose in the air. Well, they're not going to get any stimulation, they're not going to get any relaxation, and they're not going to enjoy the walk. And if they're not going to enjoy the walk, I promise you they're going to make it so you don't enjoy your walk. So this is a great exercise to do to help your puppy just learn that staying near you, like I said, is a rewardable thing. Now, in order to do this, I'm going to have some treats. I'm going to use the Charlie Bears here. You want to use a treat that you know your dog likes, but not too high a treat, not too low a treat. The Goldilocks amount is like I like to say. Now, I'm going to fold my hand over, and I'm going to hold the treat here in the palm of my hand. And what I'm going to do is just encourage Ruby to come to me, and I'm going to mark when she touches me with her hand, and her word is nice. Ruby's marker word is nice. Her guardians have already developed one. If you don't use a marker word, we have a video on that. We would recommend you use either nice, yes, thanks, or good. You can use any words you want, but the marker words to indicate that you did what I wanted you to do. Ruby! Ruby! Ruby, Ruby! Well, she's sniffing. So if your dog's sniffing, again, don't try to call them. I just did a different video. I forgot that we were shooting a different one here. But if your dog's sniffing and you try to call them, you're going to help them practice ignoring you. So I'm going to wait for her nose to get off the ground, if it does. And if it's an emergency, you can go over there and stick a treat in front of her nose and redirect her. Well, just make sure it's a really stinky treat. Ruby! Yes! And then I release that treat and she gets it. Now I'm going to palm it again. Step. Yes! She gets it. And all I want her to do is just kind of stay, like I said, within that arm's reach. We're not walking at this stage. Yes! And you want to change your hand motion. So now I'm at the front. Yes! So now I'm starting to incorporate some movement. And I can do it with both hands if I want my dog to walk on both sides. Yes! Yes! Remember, it's got to be fun for your dog. So this is a great little game that you can do in your backyard. What are we not using? We're not using a leash. A lot of times we have that leash, it ties up our hands, it causes some frustration for the dog because it's preventing them from doing what they want to do. If she wants to run off, that's great. Wait for her to be interested again, and then you can ask her, Ruby. Yes. Now I can start actually taking steps. Ruby. Yes. Now I can start asking for more criteria. I can ask for 1 or 2 steps. Yes. Don't get greedy though. A lot of people ask for too much criteria too soon, and the dog's like, forget it, I'm just going to go sniff where the squirrel was. So if that's the case, you ask for too much, back up. Ruby. Yes. 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 There's nothing wrong with doing, at first I would recommend, as soon as the dog comes to you, you're giving that treat within, she's in that 2 to 3 foot bubble. Then eventually you're gonna move her around on this side, that side, so she just gets used to coming around. Then the next stage is you're gonna start taking steps. First you're gonna do just 1 step. Yes. 1, 2 steps. Yes. And you saw that Ruby was jumping up there a little bit. If the dog is jumping, you're holding the treat too high. Hold it a little bit lower. Yes. Then I can go to 3, 4. When you get to about 5 steps, I would make the next transition. The next transition is we're gonna do this. Yes. Yes. Now the reason that Ruby was jumping is I moved too fast. This is a training video. We're trying to do this all in one shot. You should be practicing this about 3, 5 different times where you're holding that treat really low. After a while, then you can kind of hold it like a little bit like this. Yes. Yes, and if you anticipate your dog's about to jump, get that treat down there first, beat them to the jump, and then recognize that you're asking for more criteria, then back up a step, ask for only 2 steps, 3 steps. Eventually, Ruby, Well, like I said, I'm asking for too much criteria too quick. Don't do that at home. Now, when you're practicing this, make sure that you practice in a low stimulus environment. There's not a lot of distractions. No kids running around, no dogs barking across the fence, no squirrels and all the rest of that stuff. Pick and choose your classroom environment, which is your training environment for your puppy. You want to make sure that it's a comfortable environment, your puppy feels nice and relaxed and can focus on you. After you get to the point where you can get to where you're holding the treat and you're walking around and your dog's not jumping up for you, that's when you can actually incorporate a leash. And I would still practice in your backyard on the leash because, again, it's not as distracting of an environment. Eventually, you get to the point where your puppy is taking 2 steps with you on the leash and then you're rewarding 3 steps, 4 steps. And the last thing is when you're actually in your yard, when your puppy, let's say the Ruby's on a leash and she gets a couple feet ahead of me, I would say, and then get her to come back to you. And so she walks this way, Ruby, yes. So when she gets to that end of that leash, if she doesn't already make it positive interrupter, we have a different video for that, where I like to make a kissing sound. Some people would say, beep, 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 beep. You saw how she turned around and came back to that? And that's what you want to do. So you're walking and Ruby goes too far ahead, beep, 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 beep. She comes back to you and is reinforced for coming back to you. So this is, again, not teaching your puppy to walk with a heel, and you can use this for adult dogs as well, but it's much better if you start them as a puppy, because after a while they're like, if I move beyond this 3-foot area, I'm not gonna get the treats when they come out, so I'm just gonna stay in this area. And if you're consistent, every time they get to the end of the leash, you make the kissing sound, and the dog comes back to you, you can condition your dog that when it gets to the end of that leash, it'll turn around and just come back to you automatically. When it does, make sure you reinforce it and give them a treat. If you don't, they're gonna start looking for other stuff that's more interesting out in the world. Well, this is my buddy Ruby. Ruby! And this is how you can practice the walk with me game.
Quest, you are a goofball.